think a lot of people fail to realize that relaxation is probably sometimes more important than, like, you have to have that time to recharge, kind of regroup, strategize, whatever it is that you do, meditate. You need that time, man, because that's vital, I think, to being, you know, a creative, because you got to have that brain space to create, you know.
That's exactly right, man. We'll start with Devin and then we can go to Carlos. If you guys could just go ahead and just introduce yourselves, share with my audience who you guys are.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So my government name is Devin Barkley, which basically goes into why I call myself DeV.b as a producer. I actually was in the studio with another producer in Atlanta probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And he was like, yo, I'm just gonna call you DeV.b. And I'm like, all right. And I just kind of stuck. So, you know, I've been producing seriously probably for about 5 or 6 years now. You know, was lucky enough in college to be able to connect with a bunch of people that were already kind of doing stuff within the industry. So kind of took advantage of that and just try to figure out how I could make my own little way in from a production standpoint. And, you know, I've been really just trying to kind of get, you know, build a brand. As you can see, Barkley Muzic is what Carlos and I are repping. So I'm trying to get a brand off the ground,
Nice.
You know, as a music production company, independent record label. So really, really just a music lover, man, trying to figure out how I can make an impact in the industry, bro. That's me.
Love it. Love it. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and for those who don't know me, my name is Carlos. I work in ophthalmology, surprisingly enough, but I do all the IT work for them. I've been DJing, I'd say ever since high school, like after high school, around like 2005. Done a decent amount of clubs, started getting a little bit into producing. Not heavily, not gonna lie, producing's rough. It's not for everyone. I definitely sucked at it, couldn't put anything together. But if you talk about mixing music, that's my forte. I'm big into music and mixing it. Kind of enjoy the crowds, you know, experience. You know, you're giving the gift of music to someone else and letting them enjoy your craft. So it's been a rewarding and exciting journey altogether from my standpoint.
Man, that's super dope. And you touched on something just not interesting there. It's like what I've learned in the past several of months of me producing and kind of seeing what parts of music production am I passionate about and do I consider myself kind of good at versus the parts that I'm very much, you know, don't have as much experience with. And when you mentioned mixing and mastering, like that, like basically coming up with an idea from nothing is by far my strong suit. Like humming a song in my head and then being able to get that song, that melody that I'm humming onto the keys with instruments and sounds that I think would sound beautiful or sound dope or whatever vibe I'm going for. All of that stuff, like I absolutely love that element of coming with something from scratch. But then once you get to like, I watched some YouTube videos, they call it a super loop, which is like you have a loop of like 4 bars and it's just like a whole bunch of different things going on. You have a nice musical idea there, but it's not fleshed out into a full song. It's not mixed, it's not mastered. All of those things are what I definitely my weakest sort of part, right? How to make something sound like sonically dope through all different types of speakers, you know, headphones and speakers and all that type of thing. So I'm excited to that's dope kind of hearing from both of you guys a little bit. Carlos, you're saying that that's a side that you consider yourself, you know, definitely skilled at, talented at, and then the coming up with something from scratch was something that you were challenged with when you first kind of got into music, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's definitely a learning curve, especially if you're not inclined in the music industry, whether it's producing, DJing, even an artist. You know, coming up with that creative ideas isn't always as easy as people might think it is. You know, stuff takes time, and patience is definitely key.
When would you say like you sort of realized that you had a passion for music? Was this when you were a kid, when you were listening to music and you just dissecting it, or did this kind of start like a little bit later in life for you?
So kind of both for me. Honestly, I think I realized I loved music very early on, probably like 2 or 3. And I feel like every musician says that, but like seriously, I like 2. I was like, the drums are the most phenomenal instrument I've ever seen, and I want to figure out how to play them. So I grew up in the church, and my mom and, you know, my dad would try to get us involved in church. So I'll tell you like a quick funny story. my mom made us join the choir, both me and my sister. My sister was like 3 at the time, and I wanted to say I was like 8. No, I'm sorry, I was 10. If she was 3, I was 10. There's 7 years between us. So 10 years old, I didn't want to sing. I'm not a singer. I'm like, why am I joining the choir? Not knowing like you don't really necessarily have to sing to be in the church choir. You just gotta, get up there and do your thing, right?
Yeah.
But I hated it. I was miserable. And every choir rehearsal, I would just be like, this is not what I'm supposed to do. So the choir director actually, I guess, saw that and was like, you play drums, right? And I'm like, yes, I do. I don't sing. I don't know why I'm up here like this. I want to play drums. So she was like, all right, well, come on down here and help me out. So like I went down and I started playing drums, and I played drums at that church. I started playing drums ever since that moment.
Wow.
And then, when I started playing drums, I was like, wow, this is great. So I carried that throughout life. I was a drummer, and that's like my main instrument. So did the marching band thing in high school, did the marching band thing in college. So in college, I was able to at least connect with other people that were either touring musicians, heavy into production. Atlanta is a pretty big music capital. So I went to Clark Atlanta University down in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to them,
Wow.
CAU.
That's where my wife went, bro.
Really?
Small
I didn't
world.
know that. Wow.
Nathan,
Yes.
same. Small world.
So I was drum major at Clark 2009 through 2011.
Wow.
I was a drum line section leader 2007 into 2008. And I was a freshman in 2006. So I spent about 5 years there. I was on the 5-year program because I was a band student. I had a little bit too much fun.
Sure.
But yeah, man. And then, I mean, later on in life, I think I started taking it more serious. I would say I was around like 25, about 25, 26. I started taking it a little bit more serious because people started reacting to what I would play for them. I was just kind of messing around, making beats, and people were like, wow, this is like really, really good. Then another quick story. I'm not sure if you guys know who Quentin Miller is, but a pretty world-renowned, well-known songwriter. I had no idea who he was at the time. Literally was on the phone with this man, no idea who he was. And then when I got off the phone, they started telling me, oh, he's worked with Drake, he's worked with this person, he worked with that. I'm like, whoa, crazy. Yeah. But he literally told me on the phone, because I was just started making beats, and the person that had connected me with him, they were like, yeah, he just started making beats. They're actually pretty good. And he was like, all right, well, let me hear something. I played him a beat from the phone, and he was like, dude, like, you said you only been making beats for a couple weeks, or like, a couple weeks, maybe a month.
Yeah.
Like, sounds pretty good. And I'm like, well, thanks. And he's like, that's not normal for somebody to be able to pick this up that quick.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I should kind of try to like, so I've been working at it ever since, bro. And I mean, I've been able to accomplish a few things, but I really feel like I'm just kind of getting started now as far as like, making the connections and really tapping into the industry the way I think you need to as a producer. So yeah, man, I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes. Honestly, I think next year is going to be a pretty big year. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Those stories where you get that feedback about your music. I think that's one of the things, guys, that I've had to learn over the past several months is I have, memories of still living home and being, 13, 14, 15 years old and kind of working on music. I have an older brother and a younger sister. So, that's kind of my audience at the time, right? It's kind of like play my music for them, kind of get a vibe to see what they're feeling, what they're not feeling. And I remember like, how siblings can be, right? It's like they kind of know that this is something you're passionate about. So sometimes their reactions to your music, they whether they're true or not, they can hold a lot of weight. And they did for a while. And that's also with friends, family. You play your music for people that know you, right? And the feedback that you get, if it sounds dope, if they like it, they'll of course let you know. But I had to kind of learn that it's okay if some people don't like your music, or don't like, if they're not feeling it, if it's not for them. Music is so diverse. And for me, one of the sort of biggest moments, like maybe a few months ago, actually, is like the first time where I got like an immense amount of validation for my music from people who were really feeling it, was when I was doing a Reddit live stream. I may have mentioned Reddit to you guys. I may have. I'm not sure. We'll talk about it a little bit more about how powerful that tool is to grow your brand and all kind of stuff. But I was doing a live stream. What makes Reddit so much different than going live on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or even Twitch is, guys, the discoverability on Reddit is insane. I can literally, after our interview, I can literally go on Reddit and maybe hop on my digital piano, start playing some music, or hop on my keyboard and start like playing through some beats or whatever. And it's, from what I can see, it's kind of random how many people come. Sometimes you can have 20 people random across the world come, and you have an intimate sort of, enough. 20 is not a whole lot of people where you could respond to their comments and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you'll have thousands of people join your stream, and if they're feeling it, like, they'll stay there, they'll show love and all kind of stuff. And that was the moment for me when I was doing one of my streams and playing through some of my music, and had I forget exactly how many, but multiple thousands of people in there, and just positive energy. Yo, where can I hear this music? Yo, that sounds different than what's on the radio. Like, it was all that kind of stuff. And for me, I'm like, it obviously felt great. And that was the first time that I had that kind of like validation. I knew I made dope stuff. I knew my stuff I would listen to in the car. I do listen to in the car, but I didn't know where that audience was. You know what I'm saying? And that was like that was a crazy, crazy moment. So I can relate to what you're saying. Like, here, like, I'm glad you shared that story with Quentin Miller. And when you said the name, I'm like, I definitely know him. And now I definitely, he's a writer, right? Writes songs, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So that's dope. He did there was the one song with Drake that he did the what is that called? Not a right. He did the reference track for it, and it sounded exactly like it was the whole. Yeah, okay. So I definitely know who he is for sure. Yeah.
There's been some I don't know what's going on with them today. I don't know if they work together anymore, but
right.
Back when I met him, he was I think he was still pretty heavily involved with Drake's camp. So
dope. So I want to hear a little bit about sort of, what your vision is with Barkley Muzic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Carlos has been, I don't even know. Like it's like Carlos just dropped out of the sky, like randomly. Like, we worked together. Me and Carlos worked together for a few years at Guitar Center. And we never really had a conversation about, I mean, he knew what I was doing. Like, he knew I was trying to, like, produce and kind of get into production. And we never really talked about, like, Barkley Muzic and kind of what I was doing with it. And just randomly, I mean, I forget even how it came up in conversations. Like, we were texting or something, and he was just like, hey, I got some ideas as far as like what you can do with Barkley Muzic, and, some things that we can maybe do together to help you kind of elevate the brand and kind of get more brand awareness and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, let's just set up a Zoom call. And by the time we set up that Zoom call that night, Carlos had built a website. He had like 20 different ideas as to how we could like bring in funds into, helping fund all these projects that we're trying to do. He had project ideas. I was just like, whoa, where did you come from? So like Carlos has kind of become, kind of like the right-hand man, so to speak. And I mean, we're really kind of just trying stuff out at this point, trying to see what works. But I think ultimately for me, the vision is I want to turn Barkley Muzic into a production house / independent record label. So meaning I want to connect with writers, I want to connect with producers, I want to connect with artists, obviously. And essentially what I'm trying to do is build this community or this publishing house where we're shopping records, we're developing artists, we are, syncing records with a lot of these major video game companies, film companies, television companies. And it's crazy how kind of life works and, the different paths you cross with different people. Because I've literally crossed paths with everyone that can help in all of these different facets that I'm talking about. So at this point, kind of what we're doing is we're really building the team out and figuring out what everybody's good at, and trying to figure out how to kind of build, I guess, the back office, for lack of better terms. And once we have that structure and we have the formula and we have kind of what we're trying to accomplish as far as, developing an artist, and we can literally kind of plug the artist into that formula, that's when we're going to kind of be A&Ring and looking for different artists. And we have a few different initiatives that we're going to, kind of launch here soon to help us do that. So I'm thinking, obviously merchandise is a big thing to get brand awareness out, social media platforms, all of that, using that. Reddit, you mentioned, I want to look into that. So there's a lot of different things we have going on right now. And Carlos, I guess you can speak to a lot of, or a few of the things that we, some things that we got coming up as far as, excuse me, we're doing a raffle right now, which is pretty cool. And we're actually going to be doing a Zoom class where, and I'm kind of like breaking news right now. Like I'm breaking news on your show.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a Zoom call. I have one of my good friends who's actually an A&R. He's placed a lot of records with Sony, ATV, RCA, like a lot of the major labels. I've spoken to him. He's agreed to hop on a Zoom. I want to get like 20 slots where people can get on, and we're literally going to pass the virtual aux around to everybody that's on the Zoom. Have them play their record. Have the A&R give them feedback, tell them, okay, I want you guys to, I want you to maybe take this record and do a little bit more with it. It's lacking here. You get it here. I think it'll be good for a sync. Right? You just get valuable feedback that you ordinarily wouldn't be able to get. And that's something I'm really kind of excited about, because like nobody really has access to these people, and you can't really find them on social media. I mean, you can, but they're normal, plain Jane people, and you're not going to know that you're not going to know that they're A&Rs. They don't advertise that, right? And they may only have like 1,000 followers on Instagram, so it's not like they have hundreds of thousands of followers or this huge following. But ordinarily, in order to get their ear, you have to go through the label, or you have to go, another way. So what I'm trying to do is just give everybody access to that platform so that they can have their music heard, figure out how to take it to that next level. And if, they want our help in doing that, obviously that brings more awareness to our brand and what we're trying to do. So they can say, oh, hey, you know what? He mentioned I do this. I don't know how to do that. All right, well, cool. Let us help you. And then we'll figure out what that looks like from there. But we got a couple other things. I don't know if you want to touch on them, Carlos, but that was just something I literally came up with the other day, and I reached out to the A&R right away, and he said he was down. So I'm literally breaking news on your show right now. So that's coming,
exclusive.
That's coming very soon. Right, exactly.
Got the exclusive out here. Love it. Man.
To kind of like branch off of what Devin just said, we have the rap idea. We have the artist development package, which just kind of briefly brushed on. It's kind of just taking someone who's looking to get into the game and kind of helping them improve publication, getting their music heard across the board, just main marketing overall in essence. We're trying to do some virtual lessons, like virtual DJ lessons, virtual production lessons, get people more involved in music, reach out to different communities. Unfortunately, due to like COVID and everything, a lot of people are stuck, unfortunately, doing like these virtual type things. So Devin said this earlier, we used to work at Guitar Center together. And one of the things that they used to do was lessons. If you were interested in playing guitar, drums, producing, they had those forms of avenues where people could take. Most of the time it was young kids. Very rarely you get like an adult here or there. But that's the general audience that we kind of want to reach, is the kids. Give them something to do, especially during this whole quarantine time. They can't really go outside and hang out with their friends like they used to. So why not pick up a hobby? It's definitely a good hobby. You enjoy the creative side, you putting something together, mixing, producing something that's yours. You potentially can be heard on the radio. As Devin touched on, like even commercials, something small, but in essence, it's really big. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Those are some of the good, I want to say, things that are coming up in this upcoming year that we plan to release in the first quarter of this next year. There's a couple other things that we're kind of talking about or in the works of, but we'll keep those on the hush for now. We won't divulge too much stuff.
Right. Man, I gotta jump in and say, man, that idea is phenomenal. The idea is phenomenal. I think that if you were to, poll 100 or 1,000 different producers, composers, people that make music and, want their stuff heard by the right people, want to get better, want to get that feedback and advice, that would have to be towards the top of the list. That being getting it heard by someone whose main sort of thing, main talent is being able to listen to what this is and give constructive feedback on what you can do to kind of make it better. And that reminds me a little bit of I joined Timbaland did a Twitch. He's still doing things on Twitch, right? And I actually joined one of these, and because he was like, you were submitting music, and then he would listen to it, and I think he had like a sidekick kind of guy that was like going through the list of different things. Like, all right, next up we have so and so from wherever. I submitted something on there a while ago too, didn't get played, unfortunately. Whatever. But no, I watched it intently though, because even I was like, all right, it would be dope. I was like imagining, man, how crazy would that be if Timbaland's like listening to one of my beats, live and give me some feedback. I want to know what he thinks. But also, how dope was it for me to listen to what else is out there and get feedback about, like, I'm listening, like some of the stuff that I heard were like, okay, like it's very, very common. I've heard this before. And then other stuff was like, whoa, this is definitely dope. And just seeing his reaction to stuff that I also was thinking like, all right, this is actually hitting. It was informative and just enjoyable, really, just to see someone as talented as him, right? So I think that idea, I mean, I would love to participate in that for sure. So I was going to ask, for me and for anyone else watching this, again, we have, this is going out to people whose main thing is music for the most part. How would one get involved with either this upcoming one or their slots, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah. So basically the idea that we have is we're going to open it up to probably about 20 slots. You'll be able to purchase a slot. And honestly, so like I'm a backtrack like two seconds. I had a very skewed view on the music industry, right? I thought that there was just going to be this, for lack of better terms, knight in shining armor that's going to ride up on his horse and be like, yo, I've heard your beats online and I think they're dope. Come on, hop on the horse and let's go, right? I'm going to take you where you need to go. It's not how it works. So, and I'm quickly learning that. And what I want artists and producers and anybody that's really trying to get into this game to understand is you're a business. So in order to make money as a business, you have to invest in your business. So you have to invest in, joining the right networking groups, joining the right, whatever. You're going to have to invest in product if it's a tangible product you're trying to sell. So I look at being a musician or being a artist the same way. If you're trying to break into the industry, you have to look at yourself as a business. So I did a lot of things where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give this away. I'm just going to give this away. I'm just going to give this away. But I felt like I wasn't helping people understand that it's going to take investing into your craft and into your career in order for you to start to see any traction, right? I mean, I know a crazy amount of talented people, and maybe people have reached out to them and they ask them, the first question they ask, what's your budget? And if you don't have a budget, that conversation ends like right there. Cause they're like, oh, I could probably help you, but I can't help you for free because I don't have the money to put behind you. So anyway, I say all that to say, everything that we're going to do, there will be slots that you can purchase. So we're going to sell these slots for $50. So literally you'll be able to go onto the barkleymusic.com website. You'll be able to pay right there. You can use PayPal, whatever payment method you want. Purchase your slot, and then we'll send you the Zoom code, and you literally log into the Zoom, and it's as simple as that. And then we'll do kind of like a round robin. Once we have everybody logged in, we'll probably start somewhere in the evening time around 7:30. Just a good time for everybody, as long as everybody can make it at that time. And then we'll just basically go around the horn, have everybody play a record or two, if we have time for everybody to play 2 records. And again, spend about maybe 5 to 7 minutes per person, where your record maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And then you have a few minutes after that to ask questions, for him to give you feedback. And, if he likes what he hears, you never know. He may say, hey, okay, let's connect after this. I want to see if we can get this record synced with, whatever projects he may be working on at the time. So I'm hoping it opens up opportunities. I'm hoping it teaches a lesson to artists, producers, and everybody saying, okay, I'm investing in this. Obviously, no guarantees. I can't guarantee that he'll place your record, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's an opportunity that I feel like we're able to provide that a lot of people wouldn't be able to get. So, so again, $50. We should have everything up, I would say, hopefully shortly after Christmas, where you can go and purchase your slot. I'm shooting for like the second, like the end of the second week or the beginning of the third week of January, just to give people time to kind of to sign up. So should be fun, man. I'm actually looking forward to it, because I feel like this is gonna be a great way to hear some new music, great way to hear some artists that you may not have ordinarily heard. So
that's fantastic, bro. I mean, kudos both of you guys on that idea. I think you hit it right on the head, that concept about about investing in yourself. That also came up on a older episode of my show with a model who I interviewed, and she said the same thing, which is that, you know, working with an agency and you know, investing in yourself, paying money to learn how to model, how to, you know, understand the business side and all these different things. And I'm just listening to that. I'm like thinking to myself, there's no sort of semblance in my head where I'm questioning what I see for the future musically in my life. There's no like, you know, toe in kind of thing like that mentally. So I know I'm like fully that this is definitely what I want to do. I want to get my stuff heard, but I haven't taken, maybe because I didn't know, and now, you know, hearing it from multiple people, I haven't sort of taken that sort of the financial aspect of investing in yourself to kind of learn things. And like you were talking about, you mentioned something about like networking groups and stuff like that. There's groups out there that you could, I guess, pay a subscription to be a part of. And someone shared something with me about you pay a certain amount, nothing crazy, but then there's like a list of different like when companies need a song for this placement, you're like the first person to know type of thing with one of these types of examples and things like that. At a time, you know, before I'm like, all right, I'm making dope music, I'm posting on social media, and kind of like what you just said, like eventually someone's gonna hear this, the right person's gonna hear it. I'm gonna tag companies and hopefully, but you're hitting it on the head just about, you have to realize that a lot of other people probably are thinking that way. And there's more to it than just having dope music, because that's the thing. A lot of people, I believe, have dope music, amazing music. And unfortunately, a lot of theirs may not be heard because for the same reasons that we're talking about now. So it's very helpful to hear that. And I think anyone out there listening too, hopefully can take that away. Like, investing doesn't just mean, you know, paying for the latest plugins and hardware, which has been kind of what I've been investing in a lot recently. But there's other things that are equally, if not more important, to brand yourself. And I mean, look, you guys got the shirts on and everything. I love what y'all are doing, man. This is definitely, it's inspiring to see. And, you know, knowing Carlos in high school, and kind of, we had Cisco class together in high school, man. Just kind of fooling around in there, learning about
Good
Cisco
times.
stuff. We learned a little something in there, though. A little something, right?
We did. Especially from, remember Warman?
Yeah.
The Great Albino.
Oh man,
Wow.
I don't remember him until you mentioned it. Now I do. Yeah.
It was a good time. Good time.
Really, man, really.
That's
And that's what I was saying. It's just great having, you know, things coming full circle, knowing you and being able to meet Devin, and you know, I'm glad that you reached out, definitely. And I see that, like, in talking to a lot of different people in different walks of life, whenever I have these conversations with people who are motivated, who are, you know, passionate, inspiring, you know, I'm starting to kind of get a feel for what's, I'm not even gonna say what's real and what's not, because everyone I've spoken to have been real. I guess I'm getting a feel like of how powerful it is for me, and from feedback from my audience, to be able to talk to someone who it's like relatable. And now talking music, it's even more relatable, right? We're like, we're talking the same exact language. So like the idea that you just mentioned earlier, like that you guys can knock it. I mean, you guys can knock it out the park with that, because that I'm sure you're already thinking of it, but that to me is like that's the first thing. And there's so many recurring, like, people will pay money for sure and get value, not just like, oh yeah, we're taking their money. That's an awesome opportunity. $50 to be able to vibe out, you know, maybe have a little drink there, you know, you vibing out, playing some stuff, and just have a good time and get feedback for your stuff. And then also realize that everyone, like, listening to everyone else's song and hearing, you know, his or her is a man, A&R.
It's a man. Yep.
Man, yep. So hearing his feedback, that's all value. It's that feedback is all, you know, everyone can use everyone else's feedback. That's what I'm loving about it. And that's dope, guys.
Yeah, it's a good experience. I mean, just to have somebody hear your stuff, give you that feedback, give you that, you know, constructive criticism. Because I've heard you speak on this in the past. It's different hearing it from like friends or family. They're a fan of your music. You know, they're gonna love it regardless of how it sounds. So Devin and I have actually had critiquing about music a couple different times now.
Yes.
And, I give them some, I want to say not harsh feedback, but feedback on, my personal opinions of, what's been putting out.
He's just
Yeah.
mean. Just mean person. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But
Yeah,
no,
I
he's
mean,
right,
we,
though.
we want to give people, a chance to, be heard, give the overall, genuine experience of just getting your creativity out there. Really,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's hard nowadays. It's all on who you know,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, it's not like word of mouth as it used to be. Everything before social media was word of mouth. Even social media now. I mean, if you don't have a decent following, I might DM, Drake, and it's like, I don't know who the hell this person is.
Yeah.
He's not going to respond or give me the time of day.
Right.
But if you know somebody or know an avenue where we can guide you in the right direction, and ultimately that's what we want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't have said that better, man. I think what I really want to instill in any sort of creative that's looking to basically monetize their art, you have to. It's imperative for you to learn how businesses operate, how they make money, what overhead is, what all of these things that a business or a corporation would need. And a guy, God, I'm drawing a blank on his name, and I want to give him credit. And I probably shouldn't say this without giving him credit. But anyway, there's a gentleman, and he related it the best way I could understand it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "What town are you from?" I'm from Somerset, New Jersey. Right? So he's like, "All right, if you open a steakhouse in Somerset, New Jersey, and you have the best steak in Somerset, New Jersey, and you know you have the best steak, and your friends know, and your family knows, but nobody else knows, you're not going to make any money. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you put a steakhouse in Somerset, New Jersey? It's not really a high traffic area.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's going to know you're there, right? Same thing with an artist, same thing with the producer, same thing with an engineer. Because now, even today, engineers are just as important as the producer. And you have these world-renowned engineers like Guru, and you have Cruz, who's actually somebody that I know who works with Meek Mill. Like, he's been Meek Mill's main engineer for, I don't know, ever since he got out of jail, I think, or even before he even went into jail.
Mm-hmm.
He was rocking with Meek. And, all of these guys are businesses, and they had to figure out a way to brand themselves. And they had to figure out a way to say, like, oh, okay, if I mention Cruz's name, they're like, oh, yeah, that's Meek's engineer. So he's made a name for himself. You know what I mean? Just like if I had that steakhouse and, I marketed it, and I say, oh, DeV Steakhouse in Somerset. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know that place. I've seen, their TV commercial, or I've seen them on Instagram. I've seen their advertisement somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if artists or creatives in general start thinking like that, you'll start understanding why, maybe because you're going to hear it from everybody. I haven't gotten anywhere. I've been doing this for 5 to 10 years, and nobody's heard my tracks, and nobody's done this and nobody's done that. So the first question I ask is, well, how did you market it? Oh, I mean, I just, I posted it on social media. Oh, okay. Well, how many followers do you have? 500. Oh, all right. So you got it out to 500 people potentially. That's if everybody saw it.
Mm-hmm.
What's your plan as far? How are you going to take it further? That's 500 people that you can touch. You got to touch at least 1 million people. How are you going to do that, right? And they don't have a plan. So that is where I try to get them to see, like, you need somebody to help you market. You need somebody to help you with public relations. If you have a story to tell, like, if you have a background and you have a story, use that to your advantage. Like, listen, I grew up in, you hear rappers talk about it all the time. I came from the trenches, man. I was in the projects. I got out, but tell that story. That's all a part of your brand and part of what makes you you. Just like a business owner would say, I started this business because, I had a love for steak, and I wanted to open a steakhouse, and I wanted to have the best steakhouse in the world. So I was passionate about it. So I figured out a way to figure out how to monetize my passion. And I think that's what a lot of creatives are lacking today. And again, they have that mentality of like, oh, somebody's just going to hear me. I'm going to be discovered on social media and YouTube. And those days are, while it could still happen, it's a lottery, and it's a crapshoot every day. Like, are you going to get seen? Are you going to get heard? Why not take it into your own hands? Figure out exactly, there's a formula to this, right? Figure out exactly what the formula is, how you can figure out what those pieces are and how to put them into action. And I guarantee you, I'm living proof, you'll start seeing results. Guarantee it. So that's really what we're trying to help, help cultivate, man, and literally give opportunities. Because I've been given a lot of opportunities. To Carlos's point, it's kind of who and I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of people that can provide opportunity. So why not? They took a chance on me. Why not allow them to, potentially see if they want to take a chance on somebody else? So that's literally the platform that I'm trying to open up,
Mm-hmm. I love that. So if someone listening to this right now and is interested in, working with you guys, like how would that process work? Are you open for business in terms of bringing people on board, or is that a thing like soonish when that happens?
So I would say we're probably not in a position to take on any artists right now, only because we are still trying to bring, kind of the back office things and kind of figure out our system and figure everything out. Because before Carlos got involved, which Carlos has been involved for a couple months now, but before he got involved, it was just me and my friend from college that kind of had the idea and tried to figure it out. But now, like, I think it's like 3 or 4 people. We have a guy by the name of Mike Sunbury who helps with merchandising and kind of some creative visual type stuff. Carlos is our web design, everything technical, idea guy. He runs with all of that type of stuff. My guy Ryan, who is from Atlanta, and that's kind of cool too, because we're all kind of regionally located, which is
that is good.
So Ryan's in Atlanta. He's a DJ, but he handles more or less the merchandise and he designed like all the merchandise that you see us wearing today. And he's working on the merchandise designs, and he's kind of been the guy that I've just kind of say, hey, I had this idea. Can you research this for me? And he'll do the research and then get back and be like, all right, yeah, this may not be good. For whatever reason, let's figure it out. Let's figure out another way. And then we have a guy by the name of Brian, who he has a company by the name of Timber Tech, which they do a lot of kind of content automation, content creation. So whether it's graphic design type stuff, automating kind of posts, if you want to automate your posts on social media, his company is really kind of, I guess, pioneering that whole space, which is cool. So I was able to kind of partner with him and his organization. So we just have people, I call it the board, the Barkley board is what I call it. And we literally just bounce around ideas and try to figure out what we can offer. So I would say we're kind of still trying to figure that out. And I mean, we're definitely adding to the team as well. So if you have something that you feel can bring value, to what we've got going on and what we're trying to do, definitely connect. Let's try to figure out how we can get you involved. Once we figure that out, I would say latest early 2022 is when I would look to probably bring on the first artist, hopefully before then. But I mean, again, this takes money. And I want to be able to, if an artist that I feel has talent and has the drive and has the work ethic and, I really believe in this person, I would want to be able to say to them, all right, cool. I know you don't have the budget right now, but let's figure out how we can make this work. Let's fundraise, let's figure it out. So we still got to work out all of that, on the back end, when it comes to us that, putting this thing together. And then, yeah, man, I think if not early 2022, I would say the soonest we'd probably be able to sign somebody is late this upcoming year. It's probably gonna be at least a year before we can do that. But I mean, that doesn't mean don't tap in with us now. I mean, we can literally work on, a single. If you want to get a single out, we can literally work on something like that. Doesn't necessarily have to be a long-term relationship, but you can contract things with us. Obviously, production. If you need original production, definitely hit us up on that. But everything on the website, we're adding things daily almost to the website. So just keep an eye out, and if there's some way that you feel that you can benefit from something we can do for you, or there's a way that you want to get involved with what we're doing, I'll share all that information, and you can distribute that as you wish.
That's perfect.
There is a section on the website, if anybody is interested in kind of reaching out to Devin, myself, or anyone else on the team. You can subscribe to the website. You'll be in contact with one of us directly. So we can have a real-time chat with you, whether it's a consultation or just general feedback or just getting information. So that is available currently to the general public. Or you can reach out via social media. Everyone has some form of social media. We're more than happy to kind of converse with anyone.
Absolutely. Most definitely.
Sounds very, very well thought out and thorough. And I mean, I could see you guys like having a team like that, where, like you said, physically you guys are located different parts of the country and also different levels of expertise, which is which leads me to, or reminds me about a podcast that I was listening to, and they were talking about how important it is to, have diversity amongst your team, and all types of diversity in terms of your, expertise, and, even the way you think and how you think and all different things like that. They were saying that it's a fine line, I guess, between being completely divergent, where everyone's totally different, versus everyone kind of thinking the same way. Just like most things, you want to be, I guess, somewhere in the middle. But in this case, yeah, that's dope to have, like people in their lanes and doing what they need to do. All that's kind of pouring into the overall product. And I'm excited for you guys, man. Honestly, I'm excited for you guys for the future, and I'm excited to work with you guys. I know we were talking last time, and I'm like, hey, like, 100%, like we will collaborate, we will work together, we'll like find ways to come up together, right? Because I was thinking, about it since our last conversation, and I'm saying to myself, like, left a really good impression. You know what I'm saying? I think first impressions are hugely important, and they're not everything, but they're pretty important. First impressions are pretty important. And you guys both, left very professional and passionate, and I can see a lot of similarities with the way that you conduct yourself and what you're kind of moving towards and everything, and you're intentional about it, and dropping some great ideas and great knowledge and great information on my episode, which I'm grateful for as well.
Yeah, man. No, I repeat what I said the last time we spoke, bro. Any way that you feel you want to get involved, that door is open, man. Anybody that's comes by recommendation of Carlos, I know is a good person. I know has I obviously see your passion for music. I obviously see everything that you have going on, with your brand. And bro, I mean, listen, if we can, like you said, to your point, come up together, I think that's literally what it's all about, because we all have different things that I think can create this huge melting pot of just, I call it a megazord because I'm a huge Power Rangers fan. But I call it like a megazord, where we all literally have our powers and we come together and we create this huge thing that's able to just take the industry by storm. And that's literally what I want. I want to be able to create our own music. I want to be able to market our own music. I want to be able to push our own music. I want to be able to develop our own artists. I want to be able to sync our music with all of these, platforms that are out here. I don't know, man. I really am passionate about it, and I think it's something that could be pretty big. And I mean, it's not just because it's a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, it's my idea, it's gonna be great, it's. But I tell them this all the time. I tell Carlos and everybody else on the team this all the time. To me, it's very humbling to have people that are willing to attach themselves and dedicate their time. Because literally right now, we're just getting started. There's no budget. I haven't made any like crazy amounts of money yet. So I can't be like, hey guys, I can offer you, a salary. The best I can do is maybe buy you a sandwich if we go to a meeting. We're meeting somewhere and I can spring for lunch. But just to have those people that are willing to say, you know what, listen, I see your vision. I see where you're trying to go. Here's what I'm able to offer. If you're willing to take my help, I'm willing to help you out. And that's literally how all of this came about. Like I didn't reach out to anybody. Everybody kind of came to me and said, bro, I see what you're doing. Like, here's how I can help you. And I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's figure this thing out. So that's amazing to me, man. And I'm grateful for all of them. Honestly.
It's funny that you say that, Devin, because the way kind of Devin and I linked up, just so everyone kind of gets an understanding, he actually put an Instagram post out about accountability. And I'm going to still hold you to this.
Yes.
He put it out about accountability and just getting a network of people that are like-minded and kind of want to invest in themselves and want to better themselves as a person together as a whole, like a collective whole. So we're in this group on an app called Slack, if you're familiarized with that platform. And we hold everyone accountable, hold each other accountable. We create daily tasks or even monthly tasks, and we make sure that each one of us is able to complete that task in a timely manner. And if we don't, obviously you're held accountable.
That's powerful, man. That's extremely powerful, because you're talking about applying, and I was talking to my cousin about this the other day. We've in your professional career, you've had an opportunity, no matter where you were working, to learn about how business works and what are like the things that you need to do on a daily basis, in order for everything, the machine to be working properly, you know, in order to increase shareholder value, right? As the ultimate goal in a business. And so to hear that, what I think of two things. I think of one, how in your personal life and your passion and your, you know, interest in whether it's music or whatever it is that you're kind of working towards, sometimes it's difficult, I think, for people to sort of hold themselves accountable when they're by themselves, because they're only reporting to themselves. And if they feel, for example, if they feel like they need to be spending at least 40, this is me, for example, right here, right? I would love to spend, or I should say need to spend like at least 30 to 45 minutes every day on the piano to kind of, that's like one of my main sort of passions. Music theory, you know, learning how to play, getting much better at sight reading, all those elements about playing the piano, back to the basics. Super passionate about that. Love doing it, technique, all that kind of stuff. Do I do 30 to 45 a day? No. Do I do close to it? Yes. When I'm playing, is it like structured practice, or is it playing things that I know how to play? It's more of the latter. And so to your point, I think it's uncomfortable, but it's so necessary to do that, because you guys I'm sure see it already with the things that y'all are talking about right now, and the fact that it wasn't meant to be a trick question at all, but the way you answer the question about whether you're ready to take people on right now, it wasn't, yeah, let's do it right now, let's go. It was, this is the time frame that we're thinking. However, you know, being fully transparent, this is what we're working towards up to that point. But if you know, want to reach out currently, if you want to reach out now, like, we would love to, you know, have that dialogue. Those types of things, I think, resonated with me, surely, and they resonate with people as well, to say that you're doing things intentionally, step by step, and kind of working towards this ultimate goal. And yeah, when I hear that, you know, you have your group of people, it's like, man, I don't want to be, first of all, I don't want to let my team down, but also I don't want to be like called out. You don't necessarily want to be called out for something that I know that I said I can do, and I was fully able to do it, but I didn't because of X, Y, and Z. But those types of, like, you know, personality and intentional sort of building characteristics are going to ultimately result in the goal that you have being reached, most, you know, almost definitely, versus like somewhere much further down the road. That's a powerful sentiment, for sure. That's wow. It spoke to me just now a lot. It definitely did.
Wow, man. I appreciate that. And that coming from, you know, anybody, really, just the fact that they see that we've put time into this, the fact that we're thinking things through. We're not just like, all right, yeah, let's try this and see if it works. Now, granted, there is a lot of trial and error, but we're literally trying to, you know, when we're ready to launch this thing, we are going to launch it, and we're going to have everything already methodically thought out, so that we know exactly what we need to execute. And then by then we'll know exactly who's going to do which part of the execution, so that we keep the ball moving, and it's not all on one person. And it's funny, you keep using the word intentional or intentionality. And Carlos brought up the fact of, you know, me making that post about accountability, right?
Yeah.
And I realized probably earlier this year, like right before everything kind of shut down and quarantine happened and all of that, I realized, me personally, I wasn't being as intentional with this as I could be. And I wasn't putting the time in. I wasn't putting the hours in. They say in order to master anything, it takes 10,000 hours or longer. Yeah. So I wasn't putting the time in to the business aspect of it. I was putting all of my time into the creative aspect, you know? Wow. And it's not until I decided that I was going to be intentional with what I saw, or what my vision was, that all of these people started like attaching themselves and saying, okay, you know what, look, I can help you with that. I can help this. I can help with that. And the accountability thing was huge for me, because that was part of my intentionality, right? I need somebody to hold me accountable. And Carlos immediately raised his hand, like, dude, I got you. Whatever you need, I'll hold you accountable. You want me to just like text you every morning and be like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that? I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to actually be involved. Like, help me achieve these things.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think being intentional and like having all of this thought out, and really, again, man, just the passion. I want the passion to drive it, you know? So I want everybody that gets involved with us to have the same passion we have. And if you do, I agree, not to toot our own horn or anything, but I feel like the sky's the limit with this, and I really do believe in it. So yeah, man, I don't know. And kind of going into that, I am doing an album right now. I am, and it's kind of talking about that journey of intentionality and growth and kind of finding yourself as a person. So I'm doing an album. I have the title that I've entitled the album Friends and Feelings. I have a lot of musical friends that are doing all sorts of different things at different levels musically, whether they're an engineer, producer, artist, rapper, singer, whatever they are. So I basically came up with this idea of having my friends help me tell this story of growth about me personally through songs that, you know, I help write, I help produce. So obviously I'm executive producing the entire album, but I mean, I have other people as far as producers that I have records that came from. I have other writers that are helping write these songs, and obviously the artists that I have, you know, so it's a DJ Khaled style compilation project, but it's literally telling a story from, you know, where I started to kind of where I'm at now. And I'm hoping to kind of continue this series and do a few more kind of albums or EPs to just continue that story. And, you know, like that, because to me, that's awesome, because I'm able to immortalize like my life basically, you know, in songs. So yeah, man, look out for that. That's going to come February. Right now I have a very, very, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm going to stick as close to this date as I can, but February 15th release date. It may be somewhere shortly after that, depending on kind of what's going on with the mixes and everything. But I have a lot of the records in for mix right now, so I'm pretty confident I'll hit that deadline. And it's going to be on all streaming platforms, and it's going to be good music, man. I'm really excited about it, because I think, again, it's going to tell a story, but it's going to also be things that people can relate to, because I think we all this year have experienced some sort of growth, whether it's you know, mentally, whether it's professionally, whether it's whatever, you know, physically. I know a lot of people got on their quarantine workout plans because they thought, you know, they don't want to catch the quarantine 15, as they called it. But yeah, man, I'm really, really excited about that. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, we'll put the link up on the website when it drops, and you guys get to learn probably things that I don't want you to know about me.
Putting it out there, man. I love the way you said immortalized too. Yeah, that's powerful. That's like, having that to look back on, having this episode to look back on years from now, to kind of tell the story of, you know, where you were, you know, at this moment in time, I think is a very powerful and beautiful sort of sentiment.
Yes.
I was going to ask a question about your production. Like, what would you say musically is your strong suit? What's your best part of making music? Like, do you think you're the best at?
So again, my main instrument is drums. So I feel like I'm able to put, you know, pretty solid drum patterns together. I'm able to kind of mesh different like styles of drums. So I can add some jazz elements, mix that with a few trap elements, and then, you know, drop a cowbell in there somewhere. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But honestly, I tend to, I have a lot of musicians that I work with. I have a guy by the name of Mestizo. Shout out to Stizo. He's from Brooklyn. He plays violin, so I use him in a lot of stuff. Nice. Guy Kevin Rivera, who's from Newark, plays keys. I use him for a lot of stuff. I have a lot of different kind of musician friends that I call on whenever I'm looking for specific sounds. I don't play those instruments, guitar players. So I literally call them in, and I'll kind of do like a musician for hire thing for them, where I'll, you know, either pay them for the session, or if, you know, we're going out to eat or something, I'm like, hey, I'll buy you some lunch or buy you dinner after the session or whatever. Nice. But so for me, I'm really good at kind of the structure too, though. Like if I have you play, you know, a melody and I'm adding drums to that melody, I can then take what we created, those patterns, and literally lay them out like a song. So I'm good at that as well. And the mixing, kind of mixing, engineering side of things is not something I'm incredibly strong on. So I have people that I kind of outsource that to as well. So if I had to answer the question, I guess more directly, I would say drums and arranging is probably my strong suit.
Okay. All right. That's powerful, man. All right. We got time for one more question. And definitely, I'm going to extend the invite right now. I would love to have you guys on again at some point in 2021 next year, once the ball is rolling, you know, with Barkley Muzic, once maybe you've had a chance to to do the A&R Zoom thing, we can, weeks or months after that, we can kind of talk about how that went, and maybe even when you have, I'm sure you plan to possibly do those again.
Yep.
We can talk about that and kind of share some best practices there. But the last question I want to talk is, of course, about music as well. And I'd like for both of you guys to actually answer it individually. If you guys have a chance to go to a dream concert of yours, 5 artists are performing, living or dead. I want to know what artists are going to be at your dream concert performing for you.
Wow, Carlos, you can go first because I'm like, this is hard. I got to think about this one.
Thanks for giving me the warm seat to
go.
Yeah,
it's a hot seat, buddy. It's a hot seat.
Yeah, man, that's a rough one. Yeah, that's definitely rough. I would say definitely in the top 2. Tupac and Biggie have to be in the top 2.
Those are good. Yeah.
Big L, if anyone knows Big L,
Mm-hmm.
he's a big influence. My remaining 2 is actually someone I brought up to Devin recently. NF. It's a Christian rapper. Doesn't curse in any of his tracks, but his flow and his beats are so meticulously and well laid out. It's phenomenal, and like you immerse yourself in his music. It's very relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And my last artist, I would say, would probably be Eminem. His flow is all over the place, but he's very lyrical. He's like a lyrical genius.
I couldn't agree more about Eminem. I was just listening to his album, the latest album. I'm sure you listened to it if he's in your top 5.
Yep.
I'm just like, well, I didn't know you were a big fan of his either. I'm a huge fan. I became a fan of his when most people who liked Eminem stopped being a fan of his. I started listening to him around the Relapse era, around that time. That's kind of what got me into it. I didn't listen to a lot of hip hop before then, like, when I was like younger and stuff. And man, ever since then, like you said, wordplay all over the place. But what he does with those words, it's like, it's beautiful. Even though what he's talking about is crazy a lot of the time, it's just so dope to me to hear it. And for someone like me who I do not, and I was gonna ask you about this too, Dev. I'll be making a song and I'm like, oh man, like it would be dope if someone had like a flow like this over it. And I'll start, rapping, but I'm not really saying anything because I don't know how to rap. I don't know how to freestyle. I don't know how to write really either. I don't have that skill set, right? I don't have that experience yet. I shouldn't say don't know how to. I just haven't, maybe tapped into it perhaps. But I'll do just like the flow. That's just I guess is what producers say. They do this from time to time to, I guess, get started with a reference track to say, oh, this is kind of the flow that I'm thinking. Hand it to someone, they'll write to it, and then that's kind of how a song comes about. Is that kind of you experience that yourself too, like when you're producing?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll do references sometimes if I hear an idea. But a lot of times, dude, they have teams of people. Like that's another thing people don't realize. Like your favorite artist has probably 5 writers, has probably 8 to 10 producers that they work with at any given time. Yeah. So, I mean, Jufu, shout out to Jufu, did a record with him called Just Do It. That was synced in Madden. The NFL used it. So we had a pretty good run on this record called Just Do It. Nice. And the way that he works is essentially, I mean, he's got a team of people. He signed to Island Records. So he's got a team of people that the label kind of put around him that write music, produce, and, kind of come up with. So his system is, he'll go in the booth. If he likes a beat, he'll go in the booth and he'll just like just literally say whatever comes to mind, whether they're words, gibberish, whatever. Yeah. But that gives kind of the creative vibe. It gives kind of the, sets the tone, and then the writer, like the skilled writers, they come in and they say, oh, okay, cool. I hear his flow. And then they start putting words to those cadences. Wow. And then, they'll go in, they'll record the words, and then he goes back in and kind of literally almost like traces it, as far as like the vocals, but he'll make it his own. He'll kind of switch a word here and there, or maybe change the flow up a little bit. Right. But that's literally, I mean, as many people can be involved in the songwriting process or the song creative. I almost prefer it that way. So there may be a producer that's in the room that's much better at, melodic stuff than I am. You know what I mean? So I'm like, dude, lay down these melodies and let's figure out how to put some drums over top of them. So it could be 2 to 3 producers working on one song. And then, you have 2 or 3 writers working on a song. So if you look at these credits, like if you go on, Apple Music, Tidal, wherever, you never really see one producer or one writer or one, right. It's a team of people. So that's literally, I mean, that's most people's process today.
That's powerful. And I mean, even with, and thank you for sharing that too, by the way, because I think a lot of people who are not in the music industry in terms of creating stuff, but maybe love or like listening to music, like most of us, yeah, may not realize that. And even I was working on I've been going through popular songs, looking at lead sheets, which are like sheet music with just the names of
Mhm.
the chords for like popular songs. So for example, I was doing "Say My Name" by Destiny's Child just recently. And
Mm.
I love doing this now. This is like one of my things that I'm just like obsessed with, is like songs that are recognizable, learning how to identify the chord and play the chord, not just the regular chord, but like how to go from one chord to the next, to the next, to the next, by changing the least amount of fingers by using something called inversions when you talk about playing the piano. And I'm going
Mhm.
through this and I'm like, I'm vibing with it heavy. And I'm like singing the song. I'm like, I used to listen to this all the time when I was younger. My sister would always play this record all the time when we were growing up. And I'm like, looking at the top, all right, this is a Destiny's Child song. I'm looking at the top, and it's written and produced by I forget the guy's name, but I was like, I just like let me see who this person is. Like this guy wrote the song, wrote the lyrics, and produced it. I need to see who this guy is. So I looked him up, and I'll send you guys the info. You can obviously look it up later too. But I looked him up on Instagram because we have the ability to do that. Used to
Right.
not, years ago, you wouldn't be able to just find like reach someone like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a
Yep.
different world that we're in now, which is pretty interesting. I was just thinking about. But yeah, I hit him up and I went on Instagram. I didn't hear back yet, but definitely hopeful eventually. But I looked at his latest post, and it was a conversation between him and between him and someone else in the studio. And he's still still doing music and stuff. And his latest one was he was telling a story about an experience he had with Michael Jackson, uh,
Mm.
and just how Michael Jackson was so precise with the sound that he wanted. And he said he went to like I think he said he went to a dump site or somewhere where there's like a whole bunch of garbage, and he was like sampling different things in this like a waste area or something like that. And he was like, yeah, Michael was like, no, I need it to sound. I can't do the Michael voice. He's like, no, I need it to sound like this, not like or something like that. And I was just like, this is so interesting to me. I love like discovering all from this 20-year-old song, and this guy wrote it and he produced it, and the chord progression in that song it's fire to me. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too, and then I'm giving you a little bit more time to think of your top five. But I love how after, and this is like a system for me now, kind of, and it's inspiring. After working on the piano on this chord progression, on any song's chord progression, I can then take that chord progression and go to my workstation, and I can use that and embellish on it a little bit or change it a little bit, and like have that be like the foundation of a song that I'm producing. And most people will just be like, oh, like I really like this. I don't know why. This sounds really dope. It sounds nostalgic for some reason. Meanwhile, I'm playing, All I Want for Christmas Is You chords from Mariah Carey or something, but you can't tell because the sounds are different, or maybe it's a little bit different. And that's what music is. Like music, it's using old stuff, using, stuff that you've heard and being inspired by. It's a ton of fun. I'm like loving this process right
Yes, bro. That is literally like the creative process to me is amazing. I've sampled stuff that I've heard a sound at the playground when I'm out there with my daughter and she's swinging, and I'm like, oh, so I record it with my phone. Then I'll
now.
come home and I'll try to figure out how to incorporate that into a beat. I've used all
Nice.
sorts of different stuff. I actually made a beat for Jufu. It's funny. Hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. I won't say the name of the record or anything because I don't know if it's coming out or not.
Mhm.
But we made a beat. Another producer in the studio fell asleep one night and was snoring like crazy. And like we could literally hear him snoring over the music. And I was like, nah, okay, this is like, it's too loud. I got to sample this. So I literally recorded him with the snoring noise, and we used that and sampled it and made a track. And then Jufu, and we ended up calling I can't say the name of it. But anyway, we ended up like making a record, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it came out fire. I hope it comes out. I don't know anything about it yet as far as whether they're dropping it, but the record was dope. So that just goes to show you can literally use anything to make like awesome music.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, bro, I've been thinking about my top five. I think I'm ready. All right.
All
So
right.
number one for me, and the reason I would pick him is because like he was just an all around dope musician, all around dope producer, singer, songwriter. Like, this man did it all. And I don't feel like he got enough credit, even though he was incredibly mainstream before he unfortunately passed away. But Prince was probably one of my favorite artists just because of he did everything. Like, he could play keys, he could play guitar, he could play drums, he could sing, he could write, he could like he was just, you know. Another one would be, and he's still living, Charlie Wilson. And I've actually seen Charlie Wilson perform. And the reason I would put him in my top 5 is because Charlie, as old as he is an entertainer. Like, this man does not stop moving from the time he hits the stage to the time he leaves the stage. Like, I mean, he's got dance numbers. He's singing while he's dancing, and his vocals sound like they sound amazing while he's doing all of this. So I would say those are my top 2. And then third, I would say, kind of getting into kind of more of the newer mainstream stuff, Roddy Ricch is like my favorite artist that I'm kind of rocking with right now, just because of his I don't know, he's just got a different flow to me. Like, his music sounds like a lot of what's out, but it's just different. It hits different. And I think it has a lot to do with the way it's produced. And I follow Rance and like 1500 and all those guys pretty close, just because they people I look up to as far as producers. So they did a lot on his debut project, which I thought was phenomenal. I haven't had a chance to see him live yet, but I'm hoping I can at some point. And then the last 2, I would say, I actually had a chance to see Kid Cudi too. He did a pretty good show. So I would say he's in my top 5. And I mean, everybody says, like, you know, at bottom of the list for me, I would say, oh man, number 5 is hard because I don't want to like overlook anybody, you know. I don't know. 5 is a tough number. It's a tie. I'll say it's a tie between like he again unfortunately passed away. Gerald Levert was like a really good singer that I looked up to as well. And I hate to put him in 5th place, but you know, everybody else was a little bit more up higher in the hierarchy. Sorry, Gerald, R.I.P. But and then I would say it's a tie between him and probably like Drake. I've never seen Drake perform live, other than what I've seen on like TV and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, Drake to me, I think, is an entertainer. Obviously, his records slap, and I think everything is like marketing and everything from a business perspective. This man has figured out. So I would say that would be my top 5, honestly.
Powerful.
On a present and you know, past.
Yeah, nice mix, nice little blend there. All right.
Genre mix.
So I have 2 things I took out of this, and then we'll wrap. Is I got to listen to some more of Roddy Ricch because I don't. That's his name, right? Roddy Ricch.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Make sure I got it right. I definitely know of him, heard of him and stuff, but I haven't listened to like his albums or anything like that. So I definitely will check that out. And NF, you mentioned, I haven't heard of him, but I'm excited to check that out as well.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah, very impactful music from him.
Dope,
I think you would enjoy it.
Definitely. Yo, guys, we're going to wrap. I just want to say, again, just thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to put all your information in the comments below, so people will be able to reach out to you guys on your socials and stuff like that. If there's anything that you guys would like to share before we wrap, now's the time.
Let you start off, Devin.
Oh, let me start. Okay, listen, I am. Thanks again, Kev, for having us on the show, man. I really appreciate the time that you gave us today to kind of, you know, talk about what we have going on. Like I said, we're really, really excited about everything. You know, definitely feel free to reach out. Talking to everybody, send me a DM, send me an email. Easy to find on socials. It's at DeV.b on Instagram. Again, man, let's figure out how to connect and figure out, you know, if this is something that you think you might want to be involved in, or if it's something down the road that you think you might want to look at as far as maybe having us help you with some of your future projects. Let's figure out how to make that happen. And, you know, again, this is something that I came from my brain, and I've been lucky enough to have people connect with me that are helping me bring this to life. So I want to pass that on and pay it forward, as they say, and figure out how I can use the people that believed in me to help them, you know, or have us help you to first believe in yourself, but then get other people to believe in your talents and your skills as well. So just looking forward to connecting with everybody, man, and watching this thing grow, honestly.
Very nice. All right.
Me, I want to say first and foremost, thank you, Kev, for inviting us on the show here to kind of showcase what we're about and to give our feedback and things related to like the music industry. definitely feel free to reach out, whether it's DJ related, producing related, music related, content related, whatever the case may be. I enjoy a good conversation about music in general. And we're definitely excited on what's to come in this first quarter, man. I think everyone should be on the lookout and enjoy what we're going to be producing.
Yeah, 100%.
Super dope.
Keep a lookout for that Zoom call too, guys.
Appreciate you guys, and we'll obviously be in touch, in the coming weeks and months and stuff. We'll be moving together and kind of seeing each other grow, and hopefully, inspiring each other in the process, right? Seeing where you guys are now, seeing where I'm at, and kind of knowing what all of our goals are. I think it's very powerful from what I've heard from people. It's very powerful seeing people talk about something and then seeing them do it, follow through with it after not seeing that happen, quite often with, others and stuff. So it makes you, feel like you want to step it up and kind of encourage yourself and feel inspired to continue. So thank you guys for that. And I'm really looking forward to getting this episode out. I think my audience will really find a lot of great value, like specific great value that's very relatable to what a lot of them are into. So thanks again for that, guys.
Dope.
Thank
you, man. Thank you very much.
All right, y'all take care. Have a great rest of the night. And I'm gonna let my wife graduated 2010 from Clark Atlanta. So you're past same time. You said around the same time period, I think, right?
Yeah. What's her name?
Jessica Travis.
Stop. Are you serious? That's your wife?
What? You know her? Really?
Bro, I know. Yes, I know Jessica. So I met Jessica.
Yo, that's crazy. Wow.
When did I meet Jessica? Oh my gosh. But yes, I know
Wow.
Jessica. She'll know who I am. She'll definitely know who I am. I
She
forgot,
will.
but I met her through somebody else. We had like a mutual friend.
Okay.
So yes, I know exactly who she is. Yes.
That's dope. I got my next
awesome.
interview. That's wild. My next interview is in 13
Small
minutes, but I'm gonna have to run upstairs after this, and I'm gonna have to go tell her real quick because I think that's just mad. And also, I'll be remiss to not mention the February 15th date you said is actually her birthday. I didn't say it earlier, but the date for your thing, I was like, I'll remember that's the time, for that as well, to be on the lookout. So now you have to release it on the 15th.
Right, exactly.
There's no
no option, no choice, no
That's
choice.
right.
That's crazy how small the world is, man.
That is so wild, man. Yo, y'all have a blessed evening, and I'll catch you guys next time. All right.
Sounds
You
good,
as well.
man.
Have a good one.
Thanks again, Kev.
All right, fellas.
Later,
Take
Kev.
care.